If some of you have participated in, say, stage lighting for theatrical stage type high school presentation or college, 3-point lighting is really important. And this is where, especially when it comes to 3D, your journey is going to start here. You need to pay close attention to what this means. You need to start your mastering of the 3-point light rig. This is something that is also used by photographers. Um, you could set this up on a film set. It's we use it all over the place. So I have seen, and we have some stuff coming up real soon from some studios that Paul and I have asked to help us with some things here at CMII. So I feel, well, she's gonna tell you more about that when the time comes. Ola will. When I interned for visual effects artists, he really stressed lighting. I had no clue how important this lighting stuff was at the time, and you could see it in my work. And he really emphasized the importance of having a good default 3-point light rig. Here's the deal about that. I have seen portfolios, a lot of them, through him, get tossed in the garbage can because the lighting was not great. You can be the best modeler on the planet, layout artist on the planet, it doesn't matter. Um, your work will get overlooked if they cannot see the work, if it's not lit well. So that is why I do this. And ever since then, I went in and have at whenever I can, I practice lighting. I set up a default light rig. I do this for all of my characters. I mean, every single one of my characters when I'm going to post them or some sort of render out to whatever site I'm using, personal site or something like ArtStation, I will set up a 3-point light rig. I would also go through the process of what's called multi-pass rendering, but we're not going to do that here. To sort of help it look better. If you're going to take my 3D classes or my advanced 3D classes, we will be covering this a lot there. We will also be looking at lighting inside of Maya, Marmoset 2 bag, and also Unreal. Okay, so you're kind of getting a jump on at least two of those. All right, so there's a thing called direct lighting and indirect lighting. So we're going to emphasize and we're going to take a look at both. Direct lighting would be using, if you're on stage, using physical lights. There's tungsten lights, parkans, there's just different type of lights, spotlights that you could use to sort of light your shots. We're going to take a look at setting up direct lighting today, and most likely on Wednesday we will continue this with indirect lighting. We'll see. So what you see here on the screen, or what's been released today, is information where you can start grabbing certain things for like HDRIs, which stands for high dynamic range images. And please start taking notes right now. I mean literally right now, because the second part of your assignment is I will be looking at notes from last week and this week. And if you don't have notes from last week, you need to go get them, put something together. Okay? So I'm stressing this because this is really important. I need you all to understand how to set up a 3-point light rig, what it means, pretty much the ins and out of that type of thing, um, properties, materials. We're going to get into all of that, okay? And then we'll try to transition that, or we will transition that over to Unreal. So you can find what you need, and I have other places where you can start downloading like free HDRIs. They are out there. If this was a materials and lighting class, I wish we had something like this. I would be teaching you how to create your own. We would take a camera, we would go out, and I would show you how to create your own HDRI images. Okay, so that's what I'm going to cover today. I have old 3-point light rig videos that I can share. I don't know if I'm going to, because I really want to stress that you all should be taking good notes on this type of stuff and researching this stuff out. I don't think I have. Let me see what I do. Maybe I do have lighting resources. Yeah, these are just some other resources from different places that will cover some of this stuff, but I'm gonna want you to use my process for this. Okay. So, any questions before I go ahead and jump in? You will not use Blender at all. This is all going to be done inside of Maya. Okay. So every single bit of this thing is for this week. You will use Maya and Maya only, because Blender is not even going to transfer over. So if you try to do it in Blender and try to send it over to render, it's not even going to work. So you still would have to set up using the correct nodes and use the correct lighting setup over here. So here's what we're going to do. I am going to walk you through, and most likely I'm going to give you this scene here, just a quick little setup for backdrop, 3 shapes. Okay, I will set you up with this scenes that I want you to use. I have names here, I have layers here. I'm going to freeze transforms on almost everything here, so we don't have to deal with anything. And at this point, some of you, if not all of you, should be pretty comfortable with just basic navigation inside of Maya. So hopefully there are no issues here. When I'm normally working over here in Maya, I will start adding certain things, and you may see me do that. I'll create a new preset or workspace to do this type of thing here. So what I have on this side, you see just the regular OpenGL view. You can split your windows. You can change your panels here. So right here, I'm using this little panel right there. So on this side, I see everything in 3D, my perspective view. This side is what my camera sees. So you see as I zoom in, my camera moves. And all I did was create a camera. So cameras, I'll create cameras, and I created a camera and an aim. So wherever that aim point is, that is what the camera is going to see. Okay. It's going to aim at that little point there. I'm going to rename this camera. So I'm going to call this render cam. So this will be the camera that I render from. The perspective view has its own camera, and then I have this render cam. Okay. I'm going to make some changes real quick here to this, to how we see things, and then I'm going to lock down the camera. Something that a lot of people don't do, and they should do a lot of this. So I'm going to lock this camera down. Give me just a second, make a little change here. I want to do that. Give me just one little second here. Okay. So, to do this, in each one of these views, you can change the visibility of what you see and how this little each panel is going to look. So pretty much what I want to do here is right here is where I can control, and I can sort of change some things about my camera. I have a film gate. Film gate is pretty important, as where if this was a real film camera, this is the overall spacing that the film would go through. Okay, so we have that little film gate I'm going to turn off. We have things like the resolution gate, so I can see whatever my resolution I input, it'll change that. My resolution right now is set to 920 by 540. I'm going to leave it right there. We have I field chart. So field charts can be pretty important. It helps up with depth of field and things like that. But we can just do some compositional stuff through that if we need to. We have a safe zone. Safe zones or safe areas are pretty good, because this is pretty much this is pretty much what the camera sees. This is the overall zone. There are two of them actually. One is a title safe zone. So when you're creating motion graphics or any type of titling type stuff, all of your titles should fit inside of this little inner box. And your other one, I'm going to turn that off because we don't need it. This is the one that I'm going to turn on. I want to leave on. So what I normally do is I will start setting up my compositionally, setting up my shot in this manner. Maybe I want to add a little bit more space here, but you see there, when I render this thing out, I'm going to have a problem right in there. So I'm going to take the backdrop and slide it over just a little bit. Okay. So we have something like this. Let me see what happens. I'm gonna add a few things here because I want to smooth this out. Okay, let me subdivide it. Shift D. Yeah, I just want to soften that up a little bit, and they're ready to go. What I normally do here is I will lock my camera down, and a lot of people don't do this type of thing, especially when they're animating. They want to move the camera, move the camera, move the camera a lot. We don't want that. We're gonna lock that camera down. So also I'm gonna take this camera, put it on its own layer so we can turn it on and off and just call this cam. Okay. And while I'm here, let me go ahead and save this. Again, I'm gonna set up everything, and then I'm gonna get you this scene, and the only thing you're gonna do is start playing around with the lights and rendering and all. Okay. So from here, let's go. I'm gonna select the camera. So I have the camera selected there. Let me back this over. And I'm gonna lock this camera down. The way I'm gonna lock this camera down is gonna be over here. Okay. So I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna select translate all the way over to rotate and scale, hold down the right, or just click the right mouse button, and then I can say lock selected. So pretty much if I try to move this, see, I can't move it. Can't move this. I can move the look at. Let me undo that because it's moving a little bit too much. There we go. Let's take this one. Let me get that look at, or that aim, and reposition it. And then take the camera and reposition it. And then we'll lock it back down. Okay. So I'm going to select all of these, and I think I want to take that look at also. Let's just select the whole group, right click, and lock selected. So now I can't move anything in here. So I can still move around and check the environment if I need to. This is where I'm going to start setting up my lights and all. Okay. Any questions?
For the camera zones, was it the title zone that you set up, or are we not messing with those?
No, I don't. No, we're gonna just use the safe action and safe title. You don't need. We don't need to set. You can set it up if you want to. I would say turn them both on because sometimes I can use the safe title to zoom in and get in as tight as I absolutely can. I still have enough buffer for the other safe area there. Okay, if that makes sense to you. So
Okay, thank
that's
you.
how that works. Yeah. All right. So the next thing I want to do is later when we get into indirect lighting, there's some other things we're going to set up, but that we'll do that on Wednesday. Anyone else have any problem hearing me right now? Because Isabel is having an issue. Can you all hear me? Fine.
No, I hear you fine.
Okay.
I hear it fine.
All right. So let's do this. I am going to turn on wireframe on shade by clicking that little icon right there, that little button right there. Okay, it's called wireframe on shaded, and I can see everything inside of my scene pretty well. My backdrop color, you can change the backdrop just in case some of you want to do this type of thing. You can go to Windows and there's a color setting in here. Let me find it for you. In the right place. May not be here. Yeah, there it is. Settings, Windows setting preferences, and color setting. Be careful over here. Don't go crazy. You can change things. This can get a little confusing, but we have a 3D view here. I like a soft blue slatish type color, but I'm going to make that a little darker. And here's why. It's because I don't want my backdrop to affect my lighting in any way. Me visually, it won't affect my backdrop. What it renders when I renders it won't be affected that way. But I want this to, for me personally, I want this to be more of a darker gray, 65% to 85% backdrop color of a gray. Here's why. Let me teach you this. If you have a black backdrop with bad lighting, your objects will get lost in the backdrop. if you have a pure white backdrop, that white color is going to dominate. It's going to really push, and the only thing you're going to really notice is just all that white backdrop. You want to go with a more of a 65% gray to 85% gray. You don't want to go black, but you just want that to be a neutral color, and it'll help the items to pop out more. Do this when you're rendering, and even if you're in Blender, learn to change your backdrop color until you have mastered 3-point lighting. Okay, there's nothing wrong with using color and all, but I teach my students to stay away from the black and the white backdrops, because on either end of that spectrum, it will affect the final render. Okay, we will be rendering through Arnold. Arnold is Maya's sort of default renderer. For right now, it used to be called Mental Ray, but when they acquired Arnold, and believe it or not, this name is named after Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's crazy that the people who created this renderer, they would use his name Arnold. So this is the name of the software. There are other renderers inside of Maya that you can use. If you have a copy of ZBrush, you purchased a copy of the educational version from Maxon called Maxon 1, you will get your hands on Redshift, which right here I have it low. Redshift is another renderer. This is a pretty powerful renderer. There's also one called V-Ray that you will not have access to. You're gonna have to pay for this one. Redshift and V-Ray are standards for a lot of different things. Okay. There's also one called Octane. Octane is one of the big boys. Okay. Each 3D package, these are considered third-party renderers. Rendering, materials, and lighting all go hand in hand. You have to have a good understanding of that. So some of you may decide that, hey, I don't like using Arnold. Arnold's renders look great, but I know V-Ray, so I'm going to use V-Ray versus something like Redshift versus another one that you all have access to. I'm going to show it to you. You have access to this one for free too. You just have to go get it. For some of you that may not have known this, it's been around for a very, very, very long time. It is called RenderMan. RenderMan is owned by Pixar. So the same renderer that Pixar uses for all of their films, they have allowed students to go in and use this for a very long time. See here, it is a free edition. It's just totally up to you to get in and figure out how to use it. Sometimes you have to write your own shaders, but sometimes they give you your own stuff. So for this particular assignment, please mute your mics. You are going to be using Arnold. So if you do not see Arnold, you need to go to Windows, Settings, Preferences, Plugin Manager. And what we're looking for, I believe, is M2A. Yep, it's called M2A. You want to make sure you have both of those checked on. There you go, M2A in the Plugin Manager. I'll show you how to get there again. Windows, Settings, Preferences, Plugin Manager. And if you want to, you can add this. If you know you're going to constantly need to get back here and you want to play around from Settings or Plugin Manager, I'm going to press Control, Shift, and click, and see now I have it there. Okay. I can also add a Settings Preferences. So Setting Preferences, Control, Shift, and click it. So now I have access to both of these. So there you go. And you just type in M2A and it'll show you it'll take you straight to where that plugin is located. And once it's located, you should get a tab here and you should get a actual menu up here, right there. Now, inside of Arnold, in order to correctly see this thing being lit, we're going to, and now let me go ahead and do this right quick. Let's save as. So I'm going to save this as a just for myself. Okay, I'll get you over the default setup scene later. But for now, if I go and pop off a render, I have no lights in the scene. We should get nothing but a black render. And we need to, I'm gonna have to let this go for a second because my everything needs to spin up.
I had a question.
Yeah.
So when you're doing like game assets and stuff, is it as important to still have like the well lit scene?
Give me a second here. Okay. Something's wrong here. I've been noticing this. Say that again. Is if you have a well lit scene, say that one more time.
So for game assets, specifically when you're modeling them, do you still need a well lit scene since like
Yes.
if you go okay,
Yeah. You just do. I've
gotcha.
been noticing this has been happening. I am in version 2025. I think I'm gonna save this scene out and send it over because it's been rendering like this. We shouldn't see anything. So I know what to do. Give me a second. Let me try this. My renderer is popping off. It doesn't look that great. Something is going on with these backdrops. It's almost like every color in here is pink, and I don't know why that is. I think I know why. Let me make a change real quick and test that. Yeah, I think let me show you how to add a material because you're gonna need to add materials to pretty much everything. And this is something that we definitely want to do anyway. So first I'm gonna go in and freeze my transforms. Modify freeze transformations for the backdrop. Now I want to add colors to all of these. Now, when you're learning 3-point lighting for the very first time, you want to keep everything in a neutral gray. Okay, a neutral gray is what you want to use here. So I'm going to right click on my backdrop, go down to the bottom here, and I'm going to assign it a new material. And we have Arnold materials here. So the Arnold material that I want to apply here, I tell you what, let's go here, assign new material, go all the way down to the bottom to new material. So I want you to see where you can find these. When you install Arnold, you're also going to get these shaders here. And we're looking for surface. The only one that you want to use is AI standard surface. You don't need matte, all these other things here. They're not going to help you. You want access to this one because this one is going to contain a lot of data. So yeah, it's going to contain the color, the metalness. Wow. I knew something was up. I knew something was up. Let's see if it crashes on me. Something else is going on. Are you going to crash? Yes, it is. Yep. All right, I'm switching over to 26. Let's see what I can do over there. And if I have to set this up real quick, I'll set it up. Yeah, I noticed something this morning. I may have to completely restart my system. Sometimes I'll leave my system on, it'll go into sleep mode, and I think that can cause a problem. As strong as this machine is, it doesn't like that. Any questions while this is going down while I'm doing this? You will have issues when you are rendering. You will run into issues where you're gonna need to save often because this will try to. I mean, Maya's just gonna crash on you a lot. Try to open up that scene, and hopefully it's not the scene that's causing the issue. Setup. What did I call that other one? Lighting demo. See if I can get it open. Yes. And let me try to render real quick through Arnold. So I see Redshift here, which I don't see Arnold, so it's telling me that I definitely need to come in here and I gotta set that up. right, what's happening? Okay, I'm trying to do an auto load and nothing's there. Yeah, it's something is happening this morning. This is not good. And this is 26. I installed 26 and I absolutely don't like 26. That's why I went back to 25. I'm a reluctant to go back to 25. Well, there's Arnold. Let's see if I can open up the renderer. Yeah, it won't even find it. So this is not even gonna work. Let's go back to 25. Isabel, to answer your question, this is you wouldn't know this unless you've had traditional training, art training, fundamentals of art, especially say if you were painting in oils and things like that. Um, they highly stress you using a neutral backdrop. Yeah, see, it shows me that this I can try to recover. I'm not going to do that. Pretty much gray is a neutral for all colors, even with lighting, with lights. So you want to keep everything in that neutral gray as much as you absolutely can because it'll help the colors pop out a little bit more. Yeah, if it happens again, I'm gonna shut down, restart. Y'all will just have to bear with me. That's what it looks like I may have to do. So let me render this out. Yep, we're still having that issue. And it didn't happen until I assigned a material to this thing. So let's go down to new material. Let's go to the shader, surface, Arnold. So we have that one. Hopefully we don't get a problem here. Yep. Let me restart. And if I have to do this, I'll just remake the whole freaking thing again. There's something going on. So bear with me. I'll be right back. All right, give me just a second. Let me get set up here. Can everyone see this okay?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Here's what I think I'm going to do. First, let me run a little quick test. Because if this keeps happening, I don't want to have to push this back to Wednesday, but I may have to. Let me see what happens. Give me just a second here. Where's my stuff? Create. Oh my God. Let's create a cube real quick. So the crash happened when I tried to assign a new material. So let's go through a different system here, different way. I'm going to go to Hypershade and under Arnold, shaders. This could be Arnold that's causing the problem. Yep, it could be Arnold. Yep, which means I'm going to have to completely uninstall freaking Arnold. And I don't think they gave us an update. So bear with me. Jeez, that's what it is. It's freaking Arnold. Let me go see if I can find an update for Arnold. So if anyone is using the software that comes over from Autodesk, there is an installation app. Let me open up that, see if it's there. It's not it. So I don't see Arnold. That's crazy. Let me go track it down. I'm on a different screen. Give me a second. Arnold. If some of you have Arnold open, I don't know if it is just this version. See if I can get it by hand. I gotta go through my account. So if you have Maya open, go check, make sure that this is not a common thing. Do that yourself while I'm in the process of doing this, and I'll be right back. Yeah, apparently there is an update. We'll see if it works. I get the one for 26 also.
And what did you say was crashing it?
Arnold is crashing.
Like
The-
whenever you render?
No, whenever I set up a material,
Gotcha.
one of using the Arnold shaders. So I am here logged in so I can get that version, whatever version I need. So let me try to run an install real quick. This still may not solve the problem, and I gotta track it down. Did anyone just try to check on their end?
Yeah, I'm trying right now.
Install the one for 26 also after this one is done. Six. $25 is stable, but I may open up 26 just to see if it can I can at least sign. What time are we done? It's 11:45. Is that the time?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, once I get started and the scene, like I said, everything's gonna be already set up. But once I get started, we should be good. I should have known that something was wrong when I performed that render, the backdrop was pink. Okay, let's try 26. I think the problem came into play. I just went in and deleted old version, and I had Maya 2022, 23, 24 installed. I wonder if that did it. It uninstalled some things. Hopefully this solves the problem. Loading plugins. I think I'm gonna turn off Redshift and some of these other plugins in here. That could be, I don't think that's an issue, but when you turn off certain plugins, Maya it'll load up quicker. See, it says loading M to A. So it looks like it is going to work. Hopefully it will. The less plugins are installed, the quicker Maya will load up. See, they're both loaded. Arnold is right there. Let's create a simple cube. Me install or create a new material. Better work. Let it sit here for a minute. Can I make a change here? Yes, I can. So it seems to be working. Let's check the render. I don't have any lights in the scene anyway. Yep. Okay, good. So there's no lights or no lights in the scene. Let's add a quick light real quick just so I can test this thing. Side. Render. Yep, we're seeing something. See it right? I don't know if you all can see it. See, can you see that?
Yeah.
Cool. Now let's go. Ah, goodness. Poor software. All right, let's run. Let's pop off a render one more time. Nothing's there. No crash. It's not pink. Cool. All right. So let me go ahead and continue from here. Sorry about all this mess. So mute your mic, please. All right. So I do need to assign materials to pretty much anything and everything here. That has to happen. So what I'm going to do here is that backdrop first. Select it, right mouse button, go all the way down to the bottom. We want to set up just go to new material. See all these V-rays, all the stuff that you have, the shaders here, and we want to add the M2A surface. And what I like to do here is I will make this a darker gray because I don't want it to contribute to anything. And then these here, all three of these will get the exact same shader. And we'll rename these shaders. And now inside, and this gonna change, we'll make these small adjustments because this is using a PBR surface, pretty much. Middle gray is 0.18. So when I click on the color here and I go to my value here, 0.18. Eight. 0.18. Oh my God. This is crazy today. 0.18. I had to use the numbers across the top. 0.18 is gray. This is a neutral gray. Just like I was talking about last week when we were doing, or the week before when we were doing all the material stuff. That is a neutral gray there. Okay. So now we're ready to start setting this thing up. So when I render this thing, that's where we're in the right place. All right. So the very first thing about 3-point light rig is it's 3 lights. By chance, would anybody happen to know the name of these 3 lights? I'm curious if you do. See, nobody knows. First light, and the lights that we're going to use, yep, somebody knows. We're going to use, when you're setting up these lights, the only lights that you're going to use here is an area light. Area light, sometimes you'll find other artists out there that will be using things like spotlights, point lights, and things like this. You want to use an area light. And the area light is something that photographers will use, like what do they call them? They're very huge, they're very square. They have a particular name that is leaving me right now, but this is the type of light that you're going to use. It's a soft box, and the lights are not really focused, but it's going to help you to get this overall softer look for either cold or warm. You can adjust that. Here's what I like to do here. Depending on where my camera is placed, my camera is going to be here. I am going to set up my key light just about 25 degrees or 45 degrees right off of that camera. So right in here someplace, I will focus this light in here. And what we can do, and if you need to get this right, you can go to panel, look through selected, and we can look at exactly what that light sees if we need to do that. I'm just going to take it back over here to perspective, and we can focus this. Now, Let me talk about, show you how to switch this out between world space and local space. This is something that you need to know. If I hold Control Shift and the right mouse button down, I can go from component to world space. Look at the difference. See, this is my XYZ plane, and I might even lined up incorrectly. Let me rotate this thing out real quick because it should not be lined up like that. I think that, yeah, they shouldn't be lined up like that. I tell you what, I'll do that on the back end. I'll make that change later for you before I give it to you, but don't worry about it. But look here, you notice that if you can see right down at the bottom left hand corner, we see this little, my axis, my poles there, they're matching there. Now, sometimes you're going to want to move this thing in and you say, hey, I want to move this a little closer. Which axis are you going to move it closer on? You could use these little planes to try to do it that way, but really all you need to do is switch this out from world space to component. Control Shift, right mouse button, component. This allows me to move in closer like that, just like that. Now, I'm going to open up a panel. And the great thing about these panels is I can dock them. I can try to come in here and put this in a specific place if I need to. Wherever I feel like I want to move this thing, I can set up a scene. But I'm just going to leave it floating. So just note that, because sometimes when you start customizing and setting things up and moving panels around, especially when you're dealing with lights, that is when Maya likes to crash on you. Okay, because I have a workspace. When I switch over to that workspace, it causes problems sometimes. Okay, but from here, I'm just going to hit play. And let's see if we see anything. We don't see anything. It's there, but we don't see anything. And here's the reason why. I'm going to leave this up. When you're playing around with Arnold lights and select the light and you press Control A to open up the attribute editor, or we can click attribute editor right there. These are all my settings for the light. You see intensity and exposure. The intensity is how much power is being put into that particular light source. The exposure pretty much controls how much light goes into the camera. So let's put this back to 1. If I increase this, the camera now is going to get whatever that amount of exposure is, overexposed or underexposed. So if I come back in and play it again, go again, we're still not getting enough information. So we're going to need to start bumping this up. Now, let me say this, your scene, the size of your scene versus centimeters and meters will determine if you're getting the correct type of control you need over here. Let me open up this one so we can go in real time. Stop, refresh. And let's add a little intensity here. We should be getting, let me switch it over to the camera because I was in perspective. You can change over your different views from perspective to basically my render cam. Refresh. Let's see, we still not getting anything, but something is, let's see what's here. Yeah. So even though I set up that material and I have this light in the scene, I'm gonna crank it all the way up. We should be seeing something in that render. This is, there it is. Something looks like it's trying to come through. You see it right there? That's perspective. Here's my render. There it is right there. Now, again, this has a lot to do with the scale of your environment. So I'm going to really need to push this thing up. So let's try taking this up to 100. If I can. Something is up with my keys. There it is. Let's re-render that. I'm going to leave it. There it is. There's my render. There it is. It's working now. Okay. So this is what the camera see. These are not good. We have highlights. I want to take all this specularity stuff out. Okay. And I'm going to slowly start increasing things like the exposure. So let's go to 6 and see what's happening. And in real time, it's getting a little bit brighter. This is my key light. So let's rename this light. Key _ LT is what I like to do there. So we have a key light right there. Now, Lights are not white. Lights have color. It's either desaturated or saturated. And we're going to talk about shadows and all that shadow colors too, because shadows are not black. So we're going to take the color, and I need to decide on if I'm going to go warm or cool. It's totally up to you. So if I wanted to go with a cooler color, do not do this type of thing here. Don't do that. I hate when people do that, and it does not work. We don't do that in real life anyway. We desaturate the color down. So let's add a little blue, more blue here. But I'm going to desaturate. You see how I can, with that out, I can start moving the saturation over a little bit, and I'm getting this little bluish tone right there. That's what you want. Versus, let's go to warm. So I'm just going to shift this over here to this side. And you see the difference there. So we have a warm color. And then we have somewhat, we go to cool color if we want to do that. Now, lights are measured in what's called temperature, which is called kelvins. Please write that down and look it up. There is a kelvins chart out there that you can go out online. If you know where to look, you can find it. Let me show you. You just type in kelvins. Kelvins chart. Okay. This is the kelvins chart. Pretty much what it means is, let's open up one of these. As you can see here, you put in that kelvins, that number, it shows you this is a blue sky. That kelvins right in here, which is about 7,500 cloudy. Direct sunlight is the amount of kelvins determines, it will determine the color. Just know that. Okay, so if you want a candle, you put in 2,000 kelvins, it's going to give you that particular number there. So if you use, for example, this, I can go here and use color. And if I put in 2,000 Kelvin, that is your candle color or close to it. So you're going to have that range in between. So if you're looking for sunrise, it's about what, 3,200 Kelvins. That's your sunrise. You can use that if you have specific scenes. Say you have a scene that you want to set up correctly. You have candles in your scene, or you want a certain amount of light to come through the window. That is going to give you a certain time of day. So cloudy sky, which is going to be more ambient skies or whatever, cloudy days, 7,500. There's my cool color right there. I can actually use that. I'm not, but you can, is what I'm saying. Okay. I like to control these here. So let's shift this back over to a cooler color. I tell you what, let's stay warm. We're just going to keep it warm. Right? Down here, we're not going to adjust the spread. We can adjust the resolution, meaning we can go to 1K and that'll sort of help soften things up. We're going to leave all of this stuff the same, but right there, my shadow color. Shadows are either going to be a earth tone, meaning you're going to be in your browns, and it's determined off of what it hits, right? If you go outside on a sunny day, just put your hand over certain things, certain objects. Depending on the material and the color of that thing will determine what the shadows are going to look like. So you're going to have these earth tones, browns, or you're going to have these more violet colors right there, something like that. So you're going to be in the purples. Let's bring that down. That is what your shadow colors are going to be. Also in the blues. You could possibly run it into the greens, possibly, but it depends on, again, that particular thing that you are on. The light is hitting and the shadow is overlaying. So I'm going to desaturate out that color right there. So I want something that it has a little color. Earlier, you could see the browns were coming through, right? We could do that. So I'm going to start here. Now, the next thing I'm going to do, let me go and save this. Save after every time you make a change, you want to save. Save, 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 save. Okay. I need to get into the material for, I want to make a change to both the backdrop and the object. So if I don't have a way of getting here, I do, is right there, but I'm going to show you a quick way of getting to these your materials. Say I want to grab the materials here for these objects. right? All you need to do is right click, hold down the right mouse button, go down to material attribute, and it'll automatically select that material. Let me try it again. Select, right click, material attribute. There it is. Let's give these a name. Shapes underscore capital MAT for material, so I know what that is. And right here is where I can start making my changes, right, to that color. Remember that color is I'm gonna leave it there, but I want to make changes to the roughness. See what's happening? If I take the roughness out, we're gonna get this high spec. I don't want that. So remember the whole dielectric and non-dielectric thing, that's what I can play right here. You can give it a spec color. I'm not going to make those changes there, but I do want to make a change to the background a little bit. So I'm going to come in here also, material attribute, same color, but we can go darker, just a tad bit darker. And I'm also going to remove, I don't want any specularity when you're playing around with basic 3-point lighting for the first time. The reason why we're making this gray is because gray is a neutral color. All the colors gonna lay over it pretty good, but you don't want anything else to affect that. I don't want any specular bouncing because all of this stuff is the way lights are alive. Okay, they're living. And the way this works is we have a term called global illumination, GI, global illumination. That's indirect lighting. What's going to happen when you start playing around with Arnold more, that is normally going to have global illumination turned on by default, there's a number of bounces that the light will pretty much it'll happen. What happens is as the light is illuminating that color, it's going to hit an object, pick up, it's going to take that color and hit that object, and it's going to blend it in with whatever that color is of that particular object and bounce it around the scene. It's going to pick up. So if this was red, this was green, this was blue, it's going to pick up red and it's going to bounce over here. It's going to take that red and the yellows and it's going to mix it together, and then it's going to bounce and keep bouncing around. You can tell the renderer how many bounces you want. You can do that. And the more you do that, the more colors you have, the more that stuff is going to start diffuse. You're going to get more good equal diffusion and all, but it's going to start bouncing around. So you need to be real careful about what you do, how you set things up. I don't want any specularity or mirror reflections to sort of contribute to this. So I'm going to leave that right there. Okay, I'm going to add a little roughness there, or we can completely take it out. It's totally up to you, but I don't want this. See how reflective that ground plane is? That's a mirror now, and it's going to reflect off whatever color too much. So I'm just going to increase that, or we can take it completely out. It's not affecting anything. Versus the exact same thing with the shapes. Remember, I made all three of these shapes. They have the exact same material. Okay, just like that. So we can add a little bit if we want, but I just want that to spread out a little bit more to be a little even right there. There we go. There's our first light. 100% intensity. Exposure is set there. We can play around with this exposure a little bit. See, what I don't want is that. It's getting blown out. See how high and intense that is right there? That's a little bit too much. That's overexposed. I don't want it to be overexposed. So 6 was probably a good start. 6.3 or something like that. I can read that edge. I can read this edge. I can read that edge pretty well. If I want to add more highlight, I can just do that. Just add just a little bit more exposure there. Our light shape, we're set to a quad. We can change this over to certain things, to disk if we want to do that, but I'm just going to leave it out as a quad. So we're spreading out how soft this thing is a little bit. You can add number of samples. The samples should pretty much help the amount of shadows. Be careful here. Don't go crazy with this thing and bump it up. You're going to crash this system. Let's leave it at 1 for the time being. We've already adjusted our shadow colors a little bit. So we're just going to leave light here. Now, what Arnold is going to do, Arnold said, I can see your camera. You can tell it to render out your camera if you have cameras. It's going to render a diffuse, a specularity. We don't need subsurface scattering. We can take that out. Indirect and volume. We're going to leave these the same. But look at the number of bounces right there. This thing is 999 bounces. It's going to do that many times to pick up whatever color and the other light that it sees fit. Okay. Now let's go ahead and I'm going to take this light, Control D to duplicate, rename this light to field, and reposition it. Let's change the color. Move this over, shift it over into the blues. I like to go warm and then I'll go blue as an opposite. Okay. So let's leave this here. Let's rotate and move that light. Now I need to move this light. It is set to component mode, which is pretty much called local space. Control Shift and right mouse button, go back to world. Makes it easier for me to do that. Now I can go in and rotate. Okay, so I'm going to rotate like this. Who can tell me why this thing is called a field light?
Sorry,
Anyone
you
know?
said a feel light?
Field. Why is this called field light? Field.
Fill, Phil?
F. You know, I know I'm from the South and all, and I know we sing when we speak, but come on, Fill. That's what I even called it right there. Field light. Why is it called a field?
Doesn't it help smooth out some of the lighting? So if you have like disproportionate lighting, say 2-point lighting, then you get the third light to make 3-point, and it fills in some of the darker gaps.
Isabel got it. You're close. It fills in the shadows. That's all it's doing. It's filling in the shadows. I'm adjusting the size of this thing. I'm going to reposition it. What I don't want is see this shadow right there? What I may want to do, this tells me that I'm going to need to reposition not my field. I'm going to leave my field there, but my key light. Something like that. Yes, it's filling in the shadows. So with that light, and let me show you something because you're going to want to turn this on. This is why I have a certain setup here. I'm going to go save, and let me see if I can get it. Let's show you how to create this if anyone's interested. You want to go to change your module over from modeling to rendering. See here, but I'm no longer in modeling. I'm in the rendering module, so I can get into some other little lighting settings here, rendering settings. Lighting shading right there. There is an option. When I look at light linking down the road or in a little bit, but there is an option in here for me to see. It's not there. I'm sorry. It is not there. I want to see what my lights are doing. Rendering. Yeah, my light editor, which is found on the Windows rendering editors and light editor. This is, I can use this to see my lights and what's happening there. What I like to do, I'm going to drop this, see if I can drop it here. Okay, which I can. Now let's take this renderer and let's drop this renderer in the middle. Oh my God, please don't do that to me. Don't crash on me again. And it didn't. Let me get the renderer. Because see, this is why I'm saying you got to be careful here. So where's that renderer? Yeah, it dropped it. See it right here? It dropped it in. Oh boy. I was about to get mad. I know you can do stuff like this in Blender. You can set things up if I'm not mistaken. Set up your shots. So I can see my renderer. I can now come in and also affect my lights. So we have my key light, we have a field light, and see I can make changes here. What I want to do here, reason why I'm showing you this is because I can turn off that field. See the shadows right there? So I can come in and play around with settings. Now, the key light, let's reposition that key. Let's bring it over some. Let's shift it down a little. Now let's shift it up here. You always start out with a 3-point light rig and then later add other lights as you need them. But the base is going to be a 3-point light type setup. The field light, not field, field. I'm sorry. I'm going to adjust the exposure. They cannot be the same. The field and the key, you don't want them the same. The key light is the most powerful light. This is the one that focuses in on the actor the most. But that fill light, I'm just filling in the shadows. So what I want to do here is I'm going to bring down that exposure and maybe down the intensity. Okay, and here's what I like to do. I will select my key and turn it off. So now I can play around with each one of these as I see fit. Let's take that one, that fill, let's bring it up, focus it up here a little bit, and I can adjust the shape, the scale, the shape of that light. So I can increase it here. I can go here a little bit. Look at what it's doing to the shadows. Let's bring it up, rotate it. This is why I say save a lot, because Maya, this is called light shaping. I'm shaping this light. Maya will crash on you just for doing simple stuff like this. So all 3D packages, even Blender, will do the exact same thing. It doesn't really matter. Lights take up a lot of resources. Okay, so you got to be careful there. So I want a little bit more blue here. Not a lot, just a little bit more blue. And let's check the other one. Let's check enable that. So you see we're getting something. The only problem is we have that issue right there. Right? So let me take Control Shift, right mouse button. Let's go to world. Let's bring this over a little bit more. Just a little bit closer to the camera. Refocus. I'm not too concerned about that shadow right there. And let's make this a little bit warmer. Right there. Okay. So I'm filling in the shadows, maybe just a tad bit more energy. If I take it all the way up, I'm going to leave it up there and then just adjust see, I can adjust the exposure. So I'm getting a more intensity than I am here, which is great. So the next thing I want to do here is first save. Let's back this out. Let's select the fill, duplicate the fill, Control D. Why am I duplicating these? What's the benefit for me to duplicate over just creating a new light?
You already have all the settings saved.
Thank you. That's exactly why. I already have the settings. Rim. So I have my rim light. Select my rim light. Reposition my rim light. Why is this called a rim light? This light has 2 names. Does anyone know what those 2 names are? You will hear people. Yep, the other one is called a backlight. What's the purpose of the backlight? Who knows?
It separates it from the background.
Thank you. Absolutely correct. It separates it from the background. So separate what's from the background?
The object.
The objects. Because the objects will they will blend into the background without that light. Correct? So if I come in and let's select the key in the fill, turn them off. Here's my rim light or my backlight. Okay, without that light, pretty much what's going to happen is, let's turn on that light. Let's go to the rim light. Let's turn that rim light off. Look at what's happening here. Without that light, the foreground object looks like it is part of the background object. So pretty much what's going to happen is that fill light is going to help pop the foreground object away from the background. Okay. Now, what I like to do here with my rim light or backlight is I will give it an off color. You can make it any color you want. Okay, so I'll go into pinks, I'll go into greens. I'll just make it an off color. Give it a little bit more hue, just a little bit. And the settings from the fill light, you want to play around with this one also. So we may want to give this light a little bit more exposure, which we can do here. Let's go up to 6. We don't want it to have that much intensity there. We can. But I'm just playing around with how this thing is going to illuminate there. Which is going to be a little crazy here because we kind of want this to pop out a little bit more. So we may have to reposition our shapes some. Or just try to shape that light a little bit better. And because it's up too high, so I'm going to reshape this anyway. Look at what just happened there. See what's happening. Let's rotate this like that. I can't do anything about the cube because the cube is just gonna it's flatter. It's gonna pick up. But what's happening right there is nice. What's happening on this side is nice. I may want to try to shift it over here a little bit more to try to pick up and soften that side. Let's see if we can do that. Yeah, we're picking up that little rim right there. Any questions? And now let's turn them all on. So you see we're getting something like this. Okay, this is just indirect. This is why we also make these things that gray, that grayish color. If I made this thing a bluish color, that blue is going to affect it. If I made the objects any other color, it's going to affect all of this stuff, and we don't want that. We don't even want to go black, don't want to go white. You want to go with that neutral color there. And now it's just about light shaping, coming in and making small little adjustments as you see fit. To answer that question, yes, it normally would have something lower, but I'm going to require you all to read. These are things that you kind of want to research out. I want you to research these out because you're going to have artists that are going to, everyone's going to have their own way. This is my way. This is the way I want you to follow, but I do want you to do that research. Some artists are going to use things like spotlights. They're going to use cans, okay, to light that thing. But these area lights are going to give me more control. I can even light an environment. This gets into indirect. I'm going to say that for Wednesday. I was going to show you on Wednesday, I'm going to show you how to light without using direct lights, using just an object. We can use an object as a light source. Okay. This needs to be adjusted a lot. This is just a start. So what I mean by that is I will start coming in and making small little adjustments to like the key light. I'll start making more adjustments to each one of these lights. We need to, we can go higher just a little bit and then bring that back down. Let me get a little bit more blue in there. There we go. And let's go back over here. That a little bit warmer. Yep. And let's adjust the rim. I really want some of that color to pop out a little bit more. So I am going to increase the intensity, the hue there. Now let's see what that's nice. A little bit more green. But notice how the colors, like for the backdrop, is kind of feeding in. And I kind of want that backdrop to, I want to sort of soften up this back area there. Now this is our basic 3-point light. Okay. I'm going to add a new light. This new light is going to be the light for the backdrop. See if we can do that. And I normally do it anyway. Let's go to attributes. Let's rotate this. Well, not attributes. Channel box. Let's go 90. Yep. And suggest that scale. Because now I got to get you into what's called light linking. So write down these terms and learn these terms. The artist I interned under, his name is Christopher Wells. He's been working, he's a visual effects artist. I don't know. I spoke with him through Messenger about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, just to check in on him. I do that from there. We both went to University of Georgia together also, but Chris makes a very good living as a lighting TD or supervisor for visual effects and commercials and things like that. Chris, lighting artists can often look dev, or they also call look dev. They can make a crap load of money, and more money than modelers, more money than animators, because they have to pretty much come up with the look of the IP. So let's rename this thing. Backdrop light. Let's give it some intensity. So what's going to happen is this thing here is going to start. Let's bring this all the way up. Let's see what happens. Let's turn off all these other lights. I'm going to turn them off. I just want to see that light and what it's giving me. My exposure. Thought I cranked that up. And you can't hit isolate just to isolate a light also. Let's go 10. There we go. So the intensity 100, it's gonna, yeah. And now let's bring that back down. Okay, but notice this light is affecting these other lights. Now I have to teach you what's called light linking. We don't want these lights, this main light, to affect this other light here. Also, I want to go ahead and change the color of that backdrop. So if we have a warmer color, let's stick with a warmer color because the key is a warm color. Yeah. Now we need to turn off. We don't want this light to affect these other objects. That's called light linking. That is on the lighting shading. And there's an option that says light linking editor. You have light centric and object centric. Light centric pretty much is going to take into consideration your lights first. So you basically can come in here. I thought I renamed that light. Let's go ahead and do that right here. BG light. I can now tell this light, hey, don't affect the sphere, the tube, and then the block. I only want you to affect the backdrop, just like that. But looks like, let me turn it back on. Yeah, I have found that this can be a little problematic. Also, we need to reset and play this out again. Because you notice just by using that, it's no longer illuminating. I think that is a bug inside of Maya. There is a workaround. Try to figure out what that workaround is. So let me select everything here. Yeah, we do want these all to be affected to affect these, but not the backdrop. We don't want the backdrop to affect these. And we should get a different type of render. But for some odd reason, I'm not. There it is. So these are activated. It's not adjusting or they're not illuminating the background, but the background should be illuminating. Let me turn all of these back on and just to see if I can get it to work again. Last time I had to delete the light, recreate the light just to get it to work. But let's see. Let's switch this over to object, backdrop. Okay, so the backdrop, the key light, the field light, the rim light. See what's happening there? So these it's gonna illuminate. Backdrop should only see that one. Let's test it. The sphere, the rim, the field. See that? That's how that works. So with them off, they're not being illuminated by any one of these lights. The field light, that light, but the BG light. See how that works is, so the background light, so the sphere, we don't want it to be illuminated with the background, the tube, and the block. Now this background light, we kind of want it to affect, gotta be careful here. Let's turn these off. Yeah, I'm not saying a major change. Let me bring up this exposure a lot for that background. Let's overexpose it. Let me shift it in and move it in a little bit closer. See if it's gonna make a change here. And see, I'm not seeing a change. Are you seeing a change?
No.
No, I'm not either. I see a change on that key, the background. So the backdrop, yeah, that's the only light that's not really working. There we go. So the background is not being affected there, but this is the light source that we should be able to make a change to there. Yeah. Let me change the color, make it more intense. Stop it, refresh it, and yeah, that's not giving me anything. So let's turn these off. So that background should be illuminating something. Eccentric background, backdrop. Yeah, let me rebuild that light. Let's see if we can get it to do something. 200%, 20. So, okay, good. So we are getting something there. Yep, something is illuminating. Okay, I just want to test it. This is just a test. Now let's take that area light. There's the backdrop. So it is illuminating the backdrop. Okay, I don't want it to touch these. Okay, I do want it to touch the background only. Did anyone just see that? I wonder if it's because of the way what I'm naming this light. Okay, now let's make the adjustments. Bring down the exposure. Bring down the intensity. Still not seeing a change here. So something is going on between these. $80. Change that. There we go. Yeah, I only want it to affect there. So now let's make a change to the color. Let's turn them all on. Now, here's the drawback to these lights here should still be casting a shadow. This is where it gets crazy. So each one of these lights, the key light, the ram light, and all, we still want it to apply here. Now, if I turn this one back on, we may start seeing our shadows. May get our shadow information back. See what's happening, how it illuminated that a little bit better. The background, though, is the one that, see, when I bring this down a little bit, shadows are coming back. The exposure, drop the exposure, shadows are coming back. So you just got to be careful when you're playing around with what is affecting. So we don't want that light to affect the shapes and cast a shadow. We want the other lights, though, to cast shadows. Okay, so with the other lights, most likely, definitely, I may want them to cast a shadow even on the backdrop. That's what's happening there. This is too warm to me. So let's give that one an off, that light, some sort of off color. Let's go with a blue-ish. And I just want that little, I want a transition in here. I want it to be softer. So the closer I pull this thing and the farther I pull it, I see it's adjusting that a little bit. Maybe rotate. Shift it down a little bit. And I don't like the blue. Yeah, it's not bad. Let's go back through and take a look at the play around with each one of these lights. So more saturation there. More saturation here. I'm going to pull a lot of the light color, I think, out of that backdrop. And then the rim. Since we have that little pinkish color happening, I think I want to put that back. Take the background. And let's desaturate that down a little bit more. Not too much of that there. That's gonna soften it up, and this looks like it is softening that up with the exposure being a little high. Yeah. Still looks a little bit too warm for me. So I'm gonna reverse these. So on this side, let's go blue. And on the field, let's go warm. That looks better. A whole lot better. Okay. I need to take my backdrop, shift it over just a little bit because it's interfering in the actual render. So I'm just going to shift that over a little bit, or I can stretch it out however you need to do that. And so we have, now let's take our lights, channel box, select all lights. I think I'm gonna take the major lights here, put them in their own layer here. 3-point. You don't like that. I don't like that either. What's wrong with you? Can't do that. It doesn't like that. That's right. Sucks. And then let's take the background light. So we'll just call this top. So at any time I can turn it off, turn it on, turn these off and on. If I need to test out something, I can separate them out if I need to, or I can just come here to do all of this. Any questions on anything you're seeing? This is your assignment for the week. You're just going to come in and play. We haven't even got it over into the really juicy parts yet. So Wednesday, we will continue on with this and cover setting up indirect lighting using certain domes, using HDRI images to really push and enhance this up a little bit before we take this thing over into, we're not going to take this, but we'll rebuild a scene over in Unreal and do something similar. Okay. Any questions? Research, do your research, hit those notes, go over, look up what Kelvin's, what it means, the science behind that. Go over and take a look at what is a basic 3-point light rig. There should be books out there that covers all of this stuff. You all are going to need to spend some time, because here's the deal. I ask this question all the time, and you guys are really truthful. When I ask this question, how many of you, and I've asked this in the past, are looking for shortcuts? Half my class say I am. There are no shortcuts here. So if you're just going to go through the motions of just doing this stuff and you're not asking question, why a key, why a field, why, and why the materials are set up the way they are, you always, and just to reinforce that, you start off with this gray. We start off with these grays right now, then later down the road, when you need to start playing around with different material sets like gold, copper, and things, it's going to help the environment. It'll look better, but you want to start off as a black and white, more grayscale, more scalar. And that's what I'm doing here. Okay. That's all this is. So we can render, and to render out this thing, we can come in and there is a render option in here somewhere. We can save, export Arnold C, save as a multi-layer EXR, which we don't have that set up yet. And we have some save options here. Raw, we're not going to deal with that. Let's go file, save image. You can render straight through the viewer too, but I don't want to show you that. So my project, personal images, you want to figure out where you're saving your files to. So my files, and then let me show you that again. So first you want to make sure you set up a project. If you already have a project, I already have a project set up. I'm going to set my project. It is inside of my personal folder with Maya projects 2024. And there is a light rig one here. I'm just going to select that folder. So when I come in and save as, it should automatically take me to wherever. But if this one is not for some odd reason, so let me source it out. So source images is where we get sources, render data, or images. And I just drop it right there in the images. And this is going to be shapes, renders. Find that, see if you can get it to come through real quick. I'm off screen in a second. Any questions while I'm looking for this file? There's the render. It tells me also that I may want to get in a little bit tighter here. And a lot of that stuff is inside of Arnold in the render settings for Arnold's, but the render settings here, if I click this button right there, I can go into the render settings and start making changes as I need to make changes to certain things. Okay. Right there, they made a change here. So when I click the render settings, this is everything that is, this is based on how my scene is set up. So we have Arnold, we can change right here under sampling. I can make adjustments, and as I make adjustments here, this render is going to get better. Be careful, we can do progressive rendering, meaning this thing is going to render forever. As long as you have this on, it's just going to keep rendering to get better. We do have other things that we can make changes to for the final render. I can enable my sampling and then start making small little adjustments. You see that max camera anti-aliasing went up, so this render is going to get even better. Let's turn this back off. If I increase the sampling here, see 20 was, see how high 20 was? It's basically this one is overriding this one. Okay, we can start playing around with the amount of diffuse we render. We can take that out. Basically, if I take out diffuse, the color is going to go away. Specularity, won't have any spec. Transmission, we don't have glass. I don't have to deal with that. Subsurface scattering, any of that type of stuff there. But if I increase this thing up, this render is going to get better. That's too high. Let's go 5. This render is going to keep going and getting better, better, better. We don't have rate depth, depth of field, anything like that. Back over here in common, I can make changes to my resolution. Let me find it. I just saw, see right here, my preset is set to 540. But see, this is the resolution here. We could have other aspect ratios that we can play around here. So if you want a 1K, 2K, 4K, you want an IMAX, you have to put in that information in there if you want to do that. And here's my resolution. I'm not going to change this, and I don't recommend that you change this right now when you're playing around with these little settings and these options here. Yes, just asked.
With the all the lights, I know the REM light, like it should like be in the back, but with the other lights, can you like move them around? Or do they have to
Wait.
be in a specific position?
They're in
All the
specific
time.
positions. Yes, yes. But here's something that I do. Here's something that I will do. I will create a locator, or see, there's an option in here. There's a locator right there. See that little locator right there? That locator means nothing. It's just it's a null. I'll call it NULL. Null means nothing, pretty much. This locator, I'll take all my lights. I will group them. You got to be careful now, because you see what just happened. Just by me doing that, the lights just disappeared. I think it's because they're in a group. It doesn't like that, because you have to make some other changes. Let's take that out. Let me undo that. I should have done this first. Yeah, I should have done this first, because it'll do some crazy stuff when you start adding things like a locator, not locators, but a group. You see this, it's no longer rendering. All right, it's trying to render, but we don't see that render, because Maya has this crazy crap where it can't remember. It gives you the option of doing these things, and when you do it, it sort of wigs out on you. So what I will do though is I will take those and I will parent them. I'll middle mouse click, drag them into the node. What this allows me to do, this is the setup that I will use when a for all my characters and any other assets. This now allows me, see that null has no information there. I can start rotating this and change my environment. I can change the lighting there. I will do that. But yes, the key light should be in a specific place, to fill light, the rim light. Look it up. All you have to do is go out there and look it up. That information is out there somewhere. I think I'm gonna have to reopen this one. Yep, looks like I am, because I don't have my render. Let me go here. Sometimes if you try to force it to re-render, it'll come back. May crash on me again because I'm doing too much. But you saw the outcome. We'll recover a lot of this stuff on Wednesday. Yep, so it's rendering again. All because I put that in a group. You see, it's trying to do its thing. Let me go to perspective. And here's the perspective view. Yeah. Let me reopen this up. I hate that. I hate when it does that. See, there it is. Yeah, that group did that. Just by trying to get this thing in a simple little freaking group, that was what's doing it. One thing I can do though, I can make small little adjustments to the attributes of my camera. See, this is what my camera's seeing. Remember what I said earlier about pushing in a little bit? My focal length, I think I want to tighten that up some. So maybe I'm gonna go with 85. It's gonna shift that in a lot. Okay. And then I can go back and readjust the camera. So we can start playing around with our focal length a little bit. And what it's going to do is it's going to take the backdrop. The higher that number, the background is going to start coming in a little bit closer, 55 millimeters. And we do another 35 millimeters. It's going to take us back. So we can start making little small changes here to the focal length and then the sampling and all. So that is something that I will do just to get this in a little bit tighter here. And you see, I still have too much space there. We can later go back if we need to select that camera. Remember, I locked this camera. Select everything, hold down the right mouse button, and then unlock it. So now I'm able to move in a little bit tighter and reposition to get a better composition there. Okay, and then right click and lock it back down. I can have multiple cameras in this shot, and I can render between the cameras. If this was animated, we can animate that and then have something to cut through, but we don't. But this is what you have. This is our render. We'll take a look at render settings on another day, but once you have something in here, you can start playing around with saving. Just do a simple little save as is what you're gonna do. And then I will save it out as a PNG. Just give it a name. There it is right there. And then just save. So when you're submitting work in progress for the week, this is kind of what you're going to do. You screenshots. I want to see screenshots of where you're placing your camera, where you're placing your lights, how you're setting this thing up. I'm going to be looking for certain things. That's what I want you to do. Okay. Any questions? It should be fun, but it's going to be challenging. Okay. So with that, we're done. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Here.
Have a good one.